This is Real Life with Deb Waterbury, a real show for real people with real issues. And now, here's your host, Dr. Deb Waterbury.
Welcome to another episode of Real Life with Deb Waterbury. So we're in week 2 now of our motherhood series. And so last time you heard me and Karen talking about being stay-at-home moms. And you know, we all, if you're anything like me, I had like 2 of those. I mean, I was either a stay-at-home mom or I was a working mom. I did both. Mm-hmm. It depended on, you know, where we were living because we moved so often.
Right.
So it really, because Jeff's in the military, so if we were at a place where I could have a job, I worked. If we weren't, then I was a stay-at-home mom. So I kind of have both aspects of that, but I was also very bad at both. So, so I felt like I needed some other people. So what I have this time with me is Brenda Woody, and Brenda is a very long-time friend of mine, also a working mom. Mm-hmm. Were you a working mom the whole time your kids were?
Kind of like you,
yeah.
a little bit working, a little bit, mostly stay at home.
Okay, and Brenda's an educator at a Christian school here in Tucson. Your children are now grown.
They are. Mm-hmm. Don't ask me how old they are. I keep
forgetting.
They keep getting a year older.
I know,
and
you
makes
don't.
Me older. So
yeah, I know how that goes. So we're going to be talking a little bit about being a working mom this week. And you know, Brenda, you asked me before the show started what I thought about working moms, and one of the things that I dealt with a lot when I was having to work as a mom was the guilt. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was imposed by myself and my own ideals of how I thought a mom was supposed to be, and that I was missing so many things. But I'm going to be honest, a lot of that was imposed on me by other moms, and sometimes even by the church itself.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Giving you this idea that if you're not this stay-at-home, you've got to be, everything you're doing is in the house, that somehow or another you're failing. And so I want to address that some, as well as addressing the aspects of keeping that balance, you know, because there is a responsibility when you are a working mom to still be a mom.
Right.
And it's difficult to balance. They want so much from you at work, and then they want 100% from you at home. How do you even balance that stuff? So before we even get into it, there's a couple of verses that I wanted to read. I think that gives us some good scriptural reference about what the Bible talks about with mothers. And the first, you know, I get a lot of these from Proverbs 31, just because, even though I hated that whole chapter for most of my life, and I would have nothing to do with it, but now that I understand it and understand what is actually being said, it's one of my favorites to go to for being a woman, period.
Me too.
But verses 16 through 18 in Proverbs chapter 31 speaks of a mom and a wife, and says, she considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. You know, and I want to stop there for a minute, because most people, I think, at least I did, when I first used to read about the Proverbs 31 woman, I thought she had to be a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, but this woman had a business.
Yes.
And I think she was very successful at this business, apparently. I mean, what do you think?
I agree with you.
Yeah, she had a business, and she says she considers a field and buys it. So it doesn't say that her husband bought it, so that she did.
She's an entrepreneur.
Yes, and the implication is it's her money.
That's right.
That she made.
Yep.
So, and that she, you know, the fruit of her hands plants a vineyard. She does that. It's there's nothing in the Bible that tells us that we have to be limited to motherhood in the home. Why do you think it is that we've gotten to this place, Brenda, where we think that motherhood is limited to home?
Well, I think that we've got 2 things going. I think there's 2 extremes. I think we, first of all, live in a culture that lies to us and says we can have it all.
That's true.
And, you know, sorry.
Yeah.
You can't have it all.
Right.
You can't have it all. And so because we've bought into that, we feel like, okay, I'm always in this perpetual state of comparison. I'm comparing myself to the people around me. I'm making sure, okay, well, I'm working, and I'm also going to volunteer in the classroom for, you know, Thursday afternoon. We are trying so hard to balance, to keep all these plates spinning. And you know what it is to be a plate spinner.
I was the queen.
And you can be spinning so many plates, doing so many things that are really good, but at the same time, if you've not really listened to God, if you've not really consulted Him and asked Him, what is it that you've really called me to do as a mother, as a wife? If you've not consulted him, you're going to find yourself on a treadmill.
Yes.
And you will be consistently putting your head on the pillow saying,
I failed.
I failed.
Yes.
I failed.
What a great point, Brenda, because we do often find our standards or our benchmarks from the world.
Right.
Yes, and looking at Sally Mae and everybody else around us who seem to just have it all together. It's kind of like getting the pulse of America on Facebook. You only see on Facebook the high points. You don't see what actually happened before that picture was made or after that picture was made. You see everybody smiling at the beach like they're having the best time. You didn't see the sand in Tommy's hair, and you didn't see the gum here and the people screaming and hollering and you sunscreen in your eyes and you're crying. You didn't see that. You saw that millisecond. And so what we do is we then look at all these people in the world, women in particular, and we take the pulse of motherhood from that.
We do.
As opposed to getting it from God. And consulting him. I love the word that you use. Consulting him about whether or not you need to be doing all of those things.
You need to do that, folks. My opinion is you need to do that every day when you're in the trenches, but you also need to do it before you ever get into the whole motherhood thing. Because, I hear so many young girls say, oh, well, I would never be a stay-at-home mom. I could never do that. And let me just say,
I said that.
Don't ever say never, because you don't know what God's going to do.
Right.
If you really want to be in his perfect will, don't ever say never, because he will jerk you around and he will say, guess what you're going to be doing?
Yes.
So I love that you said earlier that you did both really badly. Because I can really relate to that. I mean, I thought at the time I was this mega mom because I really was staying at home. And I look back now and I see how terribly misguided some of my choices were, how alone I was, how I did not really cling to the Lord like I could have, should have. And it's actually been proven out, because one of my kids' favorite pastimes when we're having family dinner is to point out all the dumb things I did when I was
both of my boys enjoy that.
Stay-home mom. And so I look at it and I think, okay, had I consulted God, not that I would have had really an opportunity to go into the workplace, but I would have done so many things differently had I really relied upon him more than I did.
Yes, and that becomes extraordinarily important when you add working outside the home to that picture.
Yes.
Because if you have the opportunity, or you're in a situation where you can be a stay-at-home mom, then it is still hard to balance all those things and to remember to consult God. But when you add the dimension of an outside work, of something outside of the home, while you're still being an inside the home mom, because you don't get to choose. You don't get to have one or the other. Once you add children into that mix, you're both.
You can't undo that.
No, you're 100% mama, and then you're also 100% in your job. You have to be. So once you've added that in the mix, if you don't really and truly consult and make God the focus of everything you're doing, the person who becomes the focus is you. And one of the things that I did wrong, and it messed up so many aspects of my life, and I actually even have a chapter, in The Lies That Bind, called Be Strong, as being one of the lies that the enemy tells you, that you can do it all. You are woman, here you roar. And so because of that, then the strength then comes from you. I can do this, and if I'm not doing it well, then I'm failing somewhere, and I need to figure out how to do it better, as opposed to if you at the very beginning, and it's such a great point, Brenda, before children even come, before you're married, if there's some single girls watching this right now, before you're married, anything that you can do to get your relationship with God where he becomes your focus, not just your focus even, but your stronghold.
Yes.
Your shield, your buckler. He's the one who holds you up, not you.
That's right.
And not your circumstances. That's why I think the Proverbs 31 is held up. That's why I think Lemuel's mom at the very beginning said, now I'm going to tell you about a woman that you need to look for. Because this woman didn't exist. It wasn't like this is a woman I'm sure there are these women. I've never met one. But this is the ideal woman.
Yeah.
This is Lemuel's mom saying, boy, I need you to look for this kind of a woman.
Right.
And so she's bringing all these ideals. We're not going to be able to do this perfectly.
No.
And I think that's really important to remember. This again, Proverbs 31, 10 through 31, is not a woman that existed. This is a woman that a mama said, this is what I want for my boy.
This is the ideal.
Yes, the ideal woman is a woman of God. And that's why the end says she fears the Lord. That is her strength and that's her beauty, because that's where her focus is. And then because of that, she can consider a field and buy it.
Yes.
She can plant her vineyard. She can make her arm strong. She does all those things because of the first part of that, having God as a focus. That's just such a great point. Proverbs 22:6 says this. And this, I think, falls into that. Start children off on the way they should go, and when they are older, they will not depart from it. Okay, so you, I think, hit on the whole point of that, and that is the before. If you start them off here, but starting them off on the way they should go is starting them off in a relationship with Christ.
Right.
That's you're building kingdom builders.
That's right.
That's what we're supposed to be doing.
And that's got to come first.
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't happen accidentally. You've got to be so intentional. And that's why I go back to the whole, you cannot have it all.
Right.
You can't do the workout and work full time and make the perfect dinner and have Bible study and get your kids to Awana and get them to soccer and gymnastics, and there's no way you can do it all. So what
not
you
well.
No.
And not godly.
That's the smorgasbord that our culture, that's a lie. You can have it all. You can have it all. And we see on Facebook, we see these facades, and we think, well, what am I doing wrong? Why did I
can't get my kid to pose for a picture.
Right. And why are my kids not interested in the things that are eternal?
Right.
Well, that's something that has got to be first and foremost top priority.
Right.
And that means you will have to turn loose of some other things. And my opinion is those formative years when your kids are still, under your wings, you're going to have to make sacrifices.
Yes. And the sacrifice, I know you're not saying this, but I want to clarify, it doesn't mean that you have to quit your job.
No.
Your sacrifice is you can't be the soccer mom and the full-time working mom and the full-time mom at home. You can't always have a homemade meal. Your house isn't always going to be terribly clean. You have to sacrifice those superfluous things so that things that are most important are actually paid attention to, and that's God. That's God being the focus, and what He has said is the most important is that every woman is a woman who fears Him, loves Him, makes Him the focus, and then pours into their children because you got to build kingdom builders.
That's
Having
so true.
a job does not preclude the fact that that's still your primary job.
That's right.
And so the rest of that stuff, just because the world says you fail if you don't make snacks for soccer and you don't make sure your kids are in football, soccer, basketball, and baseball all at the same time, which is what I thought they were supposed to be in, that they have to be able to dance, they have to be able to do all that stuff, and if they're not doing it all, you fail.
Yeah.
That's a lie straight from the pit of hell.
Yeah.
And the enemy loves for us to follow that lie because we do this, and then we're not doing anything well, and then we just, like you said, go to bed at night and cry ourselves to sleep because we feel like such a failure.
Right.
Having a job, unfortunately, is a side note of a culture and an economy that we live in.
Yeah.
And so nobody's going to look at you and tell you that you can't have a job. The ideal woman had a job. She worked outside the home, but her focus was Christ. And I can guarantee you that if they had soccer, football, baseball, basketball, dance, ballet, and all that stuff back then while she was doing it, she would have put that as second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, tenth.
That's right.
To her actual primary job, which will always be kingdom building.
Yeah.
That's the focus.
That's right.
I mean, and I talk about this on so many episodes, that we are kingdom builders first and foremost. My focus is never going to be me. My focus can't be me. My focus has to be God. My focus has to be Jesus. It has to be that. And then if that's it, then of course everything I want to do pours into that, even through my children.
That's right. And kids, I mean, I see them. I live with kids all the time. They get this. Some of them are those kids that are being drugged from here to here, from A to B. And, they're fifth grade. I teach fifth grade. They're fifth graders, and sometimes, even in their writing, I see the pressure that they feel.
Yes.
these are sweet, precious families who were trying so hard to get it right. But I see the kids, and they would just love to simplify. They would just love so much to have some of this stuff taken off their little plates.
Absolutely. You know, and I have an actual story that supports that from my own family. Sorry about the dog. But my own family, when my boys, you know, I told you I did a lot of this wrong. And so in the midst of doing a lot of that wrong, I was, you know, making sure they were in baseball and soccer and football and everything. But we moved a lot. And so there was one time that we moved to England. I think it was the second time we lived there. And our furniture didn't follow us right away. And so we were stuck in this base house with, you know, base furniture and almost nothing. No TV, no microwave. We had, you know, the bare bones for an American is no TV and no microwave. So, but you know, we didn't have anything that you would normally do. We couldn't even pop popcorn in the microwave. They couldn't watch the movies.
That's roughing it.
I'm saying they couldn't watch movies. They couldn't do anything. My boys right now, who are now 30 and 33, their favorite memories of being a child was that 3 months, because every night I would pop Jiffy Pop popcorn on the stove because that's the only thing I had. And we went up on one of the beds that wasn't even ours, all four of us, me, Jeff, Spence, and Miles. And I read aloud the Chronicles of Narnia to them. And we just, every night, that was our time. And they loved it. Both of them now, and they spend a lot of time making fun of me, but both of them now, when we get together, you ask them what's their favorite time of memory as a child, it's when they had nowhere to be. We had just gotten there, so they couldn't be in any sports. They had just got started in school. I didn't know anybody, so I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. It was just me and my boys and my husband reading the Chronicles of Narnia on a bed with some sheets.
No plate spinning.
No plate spinning. And that's their favorite memory. I know it wasn't going to stay that way. I mean, it's not going to, life goes, but if you can keep the focus of this is what's most important, you are kingdom building, and if that's always your focus, then all those periphery things take their appropriate place. And you recognize that doing it all only means bringing your children to Christ.
That's right.
That's doing it all. That really is it. Having a job outside the home, having a job in the home. The whole main point is going to always be the same main point. As a mother and as a father, God gives us the most important job we've ever had in making servants and making Christ followers. That's right. That's the most important job you'll ever have. Life will cause you to have other jobs. It's going to cause you to have to do other things. But doing those other things cannot be the measure of your success as a mom. The measure of your success has to be whether or not these children are knowing Christ, are becoming kingdom builders, and they're seeing you model that out, because they're not going to get it from somebody else. It's about perspective. Everything is about perspective. Where do you put that? So what Brenda and I have wanted to, I think, mostly get across, even in our own failure as we were younger, is that perspective will be the deciding factor in your own joy, no matter if you're working outside the home or working inside the home, or doing both. Your perspective on what is most important and what you place on that ladder of success will determine your joy and your peace and your comfort in this life that you have, and it will also determine that for your children. So we continue to pray for you, for mothers inside the home, outside the home, regardless of whether or not you're getting paid outside the home. Most of y'all are doing stuff outside the home, you know, even in ministry that you're not getting paid for. So it's all about that perspective of making sure that you understand where success lies. And we're going to continue to pray for you in that, as hopefully that you pray for us as well. And if you're younger and a younger mom, I encourage you to find an older mom to mentor you, talk to you. You know, you young moms, it's great to get together, but you're really, you know, feeding the same problems into each other. You've got to have some experienced women above you or around you that can speak into your lives. So, and if you're an older woman who's already gone through this, then be open to that. Be open to allowing a younger woman to come into its responsibility. I mentor a lot of women. Brenda is my mentor. When you met, not that she's that much older than me, she's only a year, but she's very much more experienced than I am and has been so much more spiritually mature. Find a woman who can feed into you that way. Right. I cannot encourage you to do that too much.
Perfect advice. And also, when you have those moments with your children, be present.
Yes.
Like you were saying, the Chronicles of Narnia on the bed.
Yes.
Don't be on your phone.
Yes. Oh my word. Yes. Put that thing down.
Be in relationship. Be in relationship, and understand that even though that time is fleeting, it's so important that in those moments, those little stolen moments that are so few and far between, that you're present.
Yes.
You're listening, and you're feeding into them the truth.
Yes. Amen. Don't let those moments pass.
Right.
We love you. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Real Life with Deb Waterbury. I hope it's been a blessing to you as much as it was to me. You know, if you want any of my books or information on articles or any of my speaking engagements, you can go to my website at debwaterbury.com. God bless you.